I think we should wait for 1 more minute, sir. Namaskar and good evening, everybody. I welcome all of you once again to the lecture series on Bhagavad Gita organized by Wisdom Intellectual Forum, Puri. This is the seventh lecture in the lecture series. It is on the title Swabhava and Swadharma, translated as Disposition and Duty, in the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Over the last 6 lectures, we have listened to Sri Pramod Kumar, who came up with novel ideas and interpretations with reference to Bhagavad Gita. Though many interpretations are there available, but the novelty of this series is the different dimensions and shapes that are given to the various topics in the Bhagavad Gita. That's how this series on Bhagavad Gita has become very interesting, and I hope the participants would definitely be benefited by this series. I hope that today's lecture on Swabhava and Swadharma would also be interesting, and some new ideas will also flow in from the talk of Professor Das. We have also with us our sir, Professor P.K. Mahapatra sir. I'm very much thankful to him for being here because he is the constant guide in shaping our careers. So definitely, these comments at the end of the talk would add value to this webinar. So with much hope of having a very nice webinar on the topic Swabhava and Swadharma, may I now request Professor Pramod Kumar to address his lecture. Over to Professor Das.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, audible and visible.
Yes, go ahead, Pramod.
Sir, namaskar, sir, pranam. Respected Dr. Rao, very esteemed my revered teacher, Professor Prafulla Mahapatra sir, respected members of Wisdom Intellectual Forum Puri, and esteemed participants of this session. Today we have a very beautiful topic, that is disposition and duty or Swabhava and Swadharma. We shall discuss these two concepts, Swabhava and Swadharma, separately. Then, in the conclusion, we shall discuss how these two concepts are related. So, when we shall discuss these two concepts separately, there is no need of synthesizing one with other, because we cannot give justice to one concept if we shall do on synthesizing, keep on synthesizing in our mind the two concepts. So, what is Swabhava? Disposition. It is very simple. Swabhava or Swadharma. The prefix is Swa. Swa means self, individual. It is not universal, it is individual. It is self. So when we shall discuss Swadharma, we shall discuss about dharma for an individual, my dharma, self dharma, self duty, self assignment, self responsibility. Similarly, when we shall discuss Swabhava, my bhava, my disposition. Bhava means, bhava, the word bhava has several meanings, and each meaning is significant and relevant to each other. Bhava means tendency. Bhava means feelings, inclination, disposition, we can say that a pattern of something, a format of something. In that sense, we shall understand the word bhava. But the very common meaning is tendency or inclination and feelings. Man has three possibilities: cognitive, affective, and cognitive. Man can think, man can will, and man can feel. So thinking may be personal. My thinking is my thinking, my feeling is my feeling, and my willing is my willing. So when we give focus on something individual, that leads to the discussion of a freedom also, and that speaks of the importance of responsibility and importance of freedom. Now my question is, whenever we are doing an action in both Western and Indian philosophy, we always claim and we always assume that there must be an agent who is doing the action. That means without an agent, no action can be done. Now the question is, who is that agent? Suppose I am writing something. Now I am speaking. This is an action. Who is speaking? My mouth is speaking. That my mouth is a biological part, physical part. It is an organ through which I claim that word I in the bracket. I claim that I am speaking. Who is that? Suppose we are giving punishment to somebody. We are giving punishment to a criminal. To whom we are giving punishment? Suppose the hands are locked up. So whether the criminal is locked up or his hands are locked up. Suppose I am beating a person. I am saying that I am beating a person, but to whom I am beating? I say that I think. Really, who is thinking? My brain is thinking, or my mind is thinking, or I am thinking. Who is that I? And where is he? What is his address? Who is speaking now?
Yeah. Wait.
Pramod is speaking. Who is that Pramod? My mouth is speaking, and definitely I am speaking from my mind. Whatever I am thinking, that I am speaking. So in the process of speaking, my mind and my mouth organ are engaged. But neither my mind is I, the agent, nor my mouth sense organ, my mouth motor organ is the agent. In one webinar, my teacher, Professor Mahaputra, was saying very rightly. Now I quote him that if a person is not conscious, he should not be punished. It is true. It is true in the sense to whom we are giving punishment. To the body of that person. Suppose that person is in the custody. Suppose that person is a saint. Is a man of indifference. He has no sense of difference. For example, Gopabandhu. For example, so many great saints. They don't feel any difference in jail. So that is not punishment for them, for that person. We say that we are giving punishment to his body, that his body is in the custody, then a dead body can also be restored in one room, and we can say that we gave punishment to that body. Who is really punished? Such questions generally do not come to our minds. We always say that I am doing, I am thinking, I am writing, and that I in the bracket is the agent. It is supposed so. Who is the agent? Who is giving credit? Who is giving punishment? Who is giving the certificate? in this sense, the philosophy of Gautama Buddha is correct. There is no soul at all. There is only the flux of sensations. Mind is engaged in thinking, and as per the thought, the commands of mind, our sense organs and our motor organs are engaged in perceiving or in doing something. Neither my sense organs are me, nor my motor organs are me, nor my mind is me. But we always say, I, you. And the second point is that you is always changing, that I is always changing. When we talk of personal identity, where is that identity? Who is identified with whom? If everything is changing from moment to moment, then who is identified with whom? The changing states are so familiar to us, so we mistake the changes to the unchanged, that as if there is no change at all. This is the same person. Same person means same format of my sensation. This man appears to be that man who was yesterday. So the $1,000,000 question is, who is the agent? If without agent, then no action is possible. For an action, an agent is necessary, and that agent is responsible. That agent is given certificate. That agent is given punishment. Then who is that agent? Can we locate that agent? When I touch the criminal's hand, it is the criminal's hand. If I am beating, then I am beating the criminal's body. If the criminal is sent to the jail, then the body of the body and the mind and the sense organs all together went to jail. So where is that agent? This is the question. We shall come to that later. Let us now reserve this question for further discussion. Then here our focus point is the actions that we do. They are prompted by, they are done by our Swabhava. Swabhava means our tendency. And how that tendency has been created? Now that has been created by our habits. Habits of thinking in one direction, in one way. Our likeness, our dislikeness, our choices, our convictions, our fond beliefs, our preoccupied thoughts. Thoughts are necessary, thoughts are natural. But once we make home, once we give shelter to certain thoughts, and we are preoccupied by certain thoughts, then these thoughts create a pattern, a format. As Immanuel Kant said, whenever we perceive We perceive through the format of space and time. And whenever we think through the 12 categories of understanding. The formats of understanding are there through which we understand. The formats of a perception are there through which we perceive. That means these formats are a priori. They are prior to our experience. That priority is the tendency. That something that is prior to our action, that is tendency. And our action is according to those formats. As Kant said, our knowledge is according to such formats. No knowledge is possible without these formats. Similarly, no action is possible without certain formats. And these formats are my formats. I don't and I can't borrow the formats from my neighbors, from my teachers, from my parents. It is not possible at all. Even if I try, I may follow it for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, but one day I shall come back to my own tendency, my own disposition. Now the question is whether man is really free or determined. We claim that man is a rational animal, therefore man has freedom. And as man is free, so man is responsible. Freedom leads to responsibility. Man is responsible because man is free. But is man really free? If all of his actions are somehow or other prompted by, motivated by, inspired by his patterns, his formats of knowledge, formats of conviction, formats of beliefs, formats of likeness, dislikeness, formats of feelings, formats of sense of priority. If our action is determined by, is dependent upon, as Buddha said, Pratitta Samutpada, if anything is created, it is dependent on its previous condition, and that condition is our tendency. Though suppose we shall believe that no, man is a rational animal and man has freedom. Man can do something against his Swabhava. Suppose my Swabhava is something else, but I can act otherwise. That acting otherwise is freedom. And that possibility is a human possibility. Yes, we all admit that. But there is a gravitational pull. There is an attraction of our tendencies which breaks, which stands on the way of our freedom. If you are free to this extent only. If you are free, your way of exercising of your freedom is also determined by a particular way. Suppose 5 people are there and they are all free, but they are free to just follow their tendencies. In this way, that way, that way, and that way, and that makes our personality. We all have freedom. We all enjoy freedom. We all are rational. But our personalities are different. Why our personalities are different? Because even if we have freedom, even if we have free will, that free will is also conditioned by our habit of willing. Yes, I am free, but I am free to this extent. There is a limit to my freedom. Even if when we speak of reason, that I am rational, and my reason is my asset, I can give reason to my claims. There is also a tendency to become very fond of some reason. Suppose I am a theist, then I have certain reasons, and I am convinced. The way I am convinced, that is reason. If I can convince people, myself and others, that yes, theism is correct because these are the reasons, that conviction is my personal conviction, and that is reason. That means the way one is convinced and the way one is prone to, one is inclined to certain reasons. Suppose I believe in something, then I shall give logic, I shall give reasons to that, to establish that, to confirm my thought. So reason can establish both thesis and antithesis. For thesis, there are hundreds of reasons, and for antithesis, there are 200 of reasons. That means the way we give reasons to a particular phenomena. Reason means how we explain the phenomenal world. The way of explanation, the way we explain logically. Somehow or other, because it is a human possibility, it's not the possibility of animals. Because of it is a human possibility, the way I am habituated of giving reason to a particular conviction, particular thought, particular belief, that becomes my habit. Immediately that situation will come, my mind will start thinking in that way only. That is also a dogmatic tendency of a mind to think this way or that way, or there are many ways. Therefore, there are many philosophers, many minds, many thoughts, many philosophers, many philosophy, many speculations. Philosophy is simply the view of a philosopher. It is clearly that is the contribution of a Jaina system. That no view is complete because it's the view of one mind only. And every thought is backed by a reason. So who is that agent? Who is thinking in a particular way? That thinking is rooted on, that thinking is prompted by his previous thinkings. The way we are acting now instantly, I think that this is my instant action, but this is not my instant action. I am habituated in doing so, therefore I am doing so. I am habituated in thinking so, therefore I am thinking so. So my past education, past means of this life, my past education, the parenting of my parents, the circumstances in which I am brought up, all these are my past conditions which have made me to think this way, to feel this way, and to act this way. So my cognitive, and affective products are predetermined. I pretend that I am a free being. But the quality of my freedom is not the same, same as the quality of the freedom of Vivekananda. My freedom is not equal with the freedom of Vivekananda. Similarly, the quality of freedom is also different from person to person. Now we shall come to the practical life. What actually happens? In our practical life, suppose a mother is giving food, serving lunch or dinner to her 4 children. And the mother knows that these 4 are my children, but they have distinctive dispositions, distinctive propensities or proclivities, distinctive tendency of taking food. Taking food is a very common example. It is not that mechanically the food is served, the dinner is served on the dining table, you all come and eat like hostel students. No. The mother knows the distinctive likes, dislikes, tastes of each child. And therefore, mother serves differently. Therefore, she is mother. She is not a hostel attendant, a hostel cook. She is not a person of the hotel. No, she is mother because mother knows not only the tendencies of her children, she also knows the tendency of her husband, her father-in-law, her mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. In a joint family, there are so many people, and every man has of that particular child, that if he will be asked, shall I give? Definitely he will say no. That means mother can predict the reaction of her child, that if I shall say this way, then he or she will not take, he will deny. So what mother does? The mother silently gives one roti and the child will take. So this is the skill, yoga karmesu kausalam. Doing action is not important. Doing action, the machines are also doing action. Here, mother, but the attitude of another child is different. What another child is doing? That child does not wait for mother's catering. He will from his side, he will take another roti, and he does not mind at all. This is his tendency. Mother knows that there is no necessary for asking, that he can take his own and he will eat to his maximum. That means he does not feel shy. These are very small things. From that we all experience that the way one responds, the way one acts, reacts, feels, speaks, does, it is through his or her habits, tendencies. Similarly, language has no meaning at all. Language has no meaning. Wittgenstein very rightly said. Meaning is created when we know the art of using it. No word in the dictionary has any meaning at all. The same sentence is understood one way by one person. He will accept, he will react, he will respond the meaning in that way. But suppose husband is mean-minded and wife knows that he is mean-minded. Mean-minded means he follows the dictionary meaning. You said this to me. You said so. So here the wife should become conscious that when if my husband is like this, even if I am speaking the grammatically correct sentence, but that is not useful because my husband's tendency is different. If I shall say so and so, he will mean so and so. So I shall not speak this way, I shall speak that way. But the purpose will be fulfilled. This is the technique of speaking. This is the technique of serving food. This is the technique of doing our action. Therefore, in office, or even in our college, a lecturer means he is supposed to teach all papers. Because you are a lecturer, because you are a reader, because you are a professor, you are supposed to teach all papers. But he is the good principal or he is the good head of the department who knows that this professor or this lecturer or this leader is very much expert in language, linguistic philosophy, or is very much expert in a particular area. And he has likeness for that. And he does not like symbolic logic or any mathematical paper. So if we shall assign that paper to that teacher, going beyond the formalities of service code, then the product will be effective. Exactly that happens in the factory, that happens in different companies. They go through the abilities of the employees. All are employees, all are supposed to do the same work. But out of these 5 works, this person has expertise in a particular area. So it would be wise if that person will be given that work. So those who are very much interested in sadistic pleasure, those who intend to give punishment, they simply give the very wrong assignment. Wrong assignment means the assignment in which the person is not equipped with, has no expertise. Simply they will give that chair. You sit in this chair and you prepare bills of the employees. But he has no knowledge or he has no interest at all. I shall give my example. Because I am interested in speaking or in writing or in organizing such webinars, and my authority knows this. Whenever such occasions come but take place, they think that this person can do such type of programs, and they do not attach me in such a place in which I cannot give my it is because this is the management. A manager should know how to manage his employees, and he looks after the ability, the tendency, the likeness of the employees. A mother should know the tendency of the children. Even if all are her children, even if all are nurtured, educated in same way, still they have different tendencies, and they act and they love to act according to their tendencies. That is Swabhava. Swabhava means my likeness, my tendency, my habits, my way of thinking, my way of feeling. I shall stop here because we shall discuss so many things. Again, we shall come back. Till now, I had discussed two things. Who is the agent? And the second, that this is Swabhava. Now, what is Swadharma? We understand what is Dharma. Dharma means, similarly, as Swabhava, the word Bhava has several meanings. The word Dharma has also different meanings. Ontologically, if we mean Dharma, that means the regularity, the discipline without exception, the regularity between cause and effect. A particular cause leads to a particular effect. The best example is from a particular seed, a particular plant will grow up. If from a particular seed, any tree, any plant cannot sprout. That means there is a harmony, there is a discipline without exception. That is Dharma in the ontological sense, but in the moral sense, Dharma means the principle of righteousness. We should stick to the right principles. Whatever is right, we should do. I am just making analysis. I don't give any conclusion. I just analyzed the facts that who is agent. I did not conclude. I just analyzed what is Swabhava. I did not conclude. Now I am analyzing what is Swadharma. I am not concluding anything, and in the concluding part, I shall give my concluding notes. So this is Dharma in ontological sense. What is called Rita. Rita means the cosmic order. That means everything has an order. Everything has a discipline, and that discipline is universal. That is, there is no exception. Even if there is an exception, that exception is also a rule. If such and such exceptions take place, then such and such consequences will take place. So, and in moral domain, we can say that the principle of righteousness, that if we have decided this is right, then we should follow that principle. Suppose in my family, suppose my father is the head of my family, and my father decided that everybody should return home before 10 p.m. So this is the rule of my family. This is not the rule of other family. If this is the rule, if this is accepted, then everybody is supposed to follow that rule, including father. That means in dharma, in law, the lawmaker is also a part. That means the lawmaker, the maker is not excused of violating the law. The government also. The government is the lawmaker, and the government is also part of the law. In the court of law, the government is also part. So the lawmaker, so that means law is fundamental. Dharma is, suppose metaphysically we can say God is the maker of a dharma, then God is also the part of a dharma. That means dharma is beyond God, but or the law is beyond the lawmaker. Even if there is if a law is established in our family, then the head of the family is bound to, and he is the first person to follow that rule, so that others will be inspired. If this is the law in the government, then the highest authority of the government is the first person to follow that, to follow and to respect that law, so that a common citizen will be inspired. That means the lawmaker is not beyond law, law is beyond lawmaker. So it is dharma in the very general sense. We have that knowledge, we all have that knowledge. But here we are not discussing about dharma. Here we are discussing about Swadharma. Yes, this is dharma in general. I know driving, so I have the driving manual with me, and I have the driving training in my mind, and I have completed that training. That's all right. But the moment I am driving my car on the road, every situation is a context for me, is an occasion for me to be concerned, to be careful, and to follow a contextual technique, that in a particular context, in a particular situation, I am alone in my car, and I am holding the steering, I am driving, and I have only a fraction of a moment to meet the accident. And at that particular moment, what is my dharma? Whether I shall save that child, going against the driving manual, or I shall obey the universal dharma, the driving manual, that you should not drive this way, that way, so and so. That in that particular context, my concern, my conscience, my immediate consciousness, my immediate judgment, my immediate response is my dharma, and I shall remain responsible for that. So in Swabhava, there is no freedom. It is predeterminism. But in Swadharma, there is a scope for free will, that even if I know dharma, that truth should be spoken. Telling truth is good. telling truth is dharma, telling truth is right. But in this particular context, I can exercise my free will to deviate that dharma. Deviate that dharma means that is not dharma in this context. If I shall do that, then that will be adharma. Rather, that will be adharma. In this particular context, I shall follow the contextual necessity. That is Swadharma. My point is, every man is an individual. Though we live in society, though we live in family, though we live together, we have a social sense, we have a family sense, we have sense of friendship, and we are interdependent with each other. But so far as our free will, so far as our mind, so far as our immediate concern, decision is concerned, we are all simply isolated individual beings that I now all experience in corona pandemics. If I have that disease, nobody will touch me, even not my wife or anybody else. Nobody are going to hospital to attend their patients, because this is also existentialism. In existentialism says that every man is thrown into this world of uncertainties, and every man is unique. Every man is an individual, though he lives in society or family. So, if I am in a crossroad, and if I have so many choices, and I have sufficient reason to support each choice, still then I have to choose the best choice among the many choices. And that decision is my own asset, is my own responsibility, is my own dharma. Now, we shall relate these two concepts. There are three possibilities. If we shall take the perspective of utilitarianism, then some people, some philosophers, they will give emphasis upon only Swabhava. This is utilitarian standpoint. If my Swabhava is so and so, then I shall go with my Swabhava. And the best Swabhava is the Swabhava of seeking pleasure, according to hedonism. The best Swabhava, the best we are all inclined towards something pleasurable. So whatever is pleasurable, that should be desirable. That means we are not so much interested in duty, Swadharma. Two things are there. I am the owner, because so bhava and so dharma. So I am the owner of my bhava, my tendency, and I am also I shall be owner of my dharma. And between these two ownership, I prefer to be the owner of my Swabhava, and I shall give priority to that. I am least concerned about my duty. I shall go with my Swabhava. And now we all see in this modern world, 90% people are of this type. They are even in Corona pandemics. People are not so much serious about precautions. They are moving without mask because because why they are not serious, because they just live by their Swabhava. This is my Swabhava, and I shall live this way. The mask is making me suffocated. I feel uncomfort. So this mask is not good for me. What will happen? So happen. We shall see. Precautions are not taken, not followed seriously by people. Even if that is our duty, individual duty, social duty, and the national duty also, the duty for the nation. Those who are not following such certain principles, they can be called Desadrohi. Because the infection of my body is not my infection, it's not so infection, so sankramana. It is not so, it is all. It can infect many people. But in spite of that, they are not following that precautions. Even if they are fined, charged by police, still they go by their own Swabhava. This is the utilitarian standpoint. So between Swabhava and Swadharma, they prefer to go with Swabhava. I shall accumulate more and more, 1 building, 2 buildings, 3 buildings, 4 buildings, at the cost of my Swadharma, my peace. What is my Swadharma? Suppose my Swadharma is, because I am the only child of my parents, my Swadharma is that I shall take care of my parents because nobody else will come forward to take up my parents. But I am busy in making 4 buildings, 5 buildings, and my father will remain in Buddhashrama. That means at the cost of my Swadharma, I give maximum importance, inclination, interest to my Swabhava. This is the utilitarian point of view. We can speak in one sentence, whatever may be my duty, whatever may be the consequence, I shall focus on my Swabhava. This is an extreme point, which Bhagavad Gita does not advocate. The second extreme point is rigorism or deontological perspective. That is, whatever my Swabhava may be, I should focus on duty only. Whatever my Swabhava, even I shall go against my Swabhava, but I shall, it is better than utilitarianism, but it is not the best way. It is also another type of dogmatism. It is also another type of therefore it is called rigorism. Rigorism means it is too strict, that I am only concerned with duty, and I am least concerned about my Swabhava. If we shall discuss about that deeply, we shall come to the conclusion that if really we do that in our practical life, as Immanuel Kant said, categorical imperative, the ontological standpoint, if we shall take duty in that sense, then man will become just like a machine. everything will be treated as a mere duty only. As I told that if a mother is giving food to children, she will do her duty only, like hostel attendant. Yes, your food is served. Now you sit and take your food. And after taking your food, go to bed and sleep. Now it is morning, wake up, go to school and read, do, sit. No, this way we cannot live our life. Suppose I am speaking something in the sense of duty that is not charming, that is not pleasant. Language does not carry only meaning, language carry also feelings. Every word has a feeling. I don't use my words, I don't speak to you means to suppose my friend or somebody else. I don't speak because it should be spoken. No, I speak. When I speak, not only I mean that, I feel each word. Very beautifully Wittgenstein has described it in philosophical investigation. Language is not simply grammatically correct sentence or the beautiful composition of words. It's not language. Language carries feelings. So mere duty is not enough. So the second pronouncement is, whatever may be your Swabhava, whatever is my Swabhava, I shall focus on duty. I shall do everything in the sense of a duty. Doctors will do their duty, my parents will do their duty. That means the entire society will be dutiful, but not will be beautiful. Beauty will come when there is bhava, feelings. So duty should be mixed with bhava. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Jnana is not enough, Jnana is necessary. I have knowledge. Therefore, I told that therefore practical ethics came. Therefore, applied ethics came. In applied ethics, what we do not follow our duty for the sake of duty. We make many compromises according to the context, because the application is very necessary. Therefore, we take contexts, exceptions into account, and that is possible when we have feelings for a context. No. If this context is so and so, then please don't be so hard. Please make a compromise. Please excuse. Please give him a next chance. Therefore, in the court of law, the trials become very late because they are very much sympathetic. They take the cases from the humanitarian standpoints that at any place, no mistake, no injustice will be done for a criminal, for any party. We should not be so hurry. Better it is late. We shall give proper justice. We shall think, overthink. We shall think, rethink, review from different perspectives. That is possible when we are not so much rigid in our traditional way of following duty. So these two are two extreme points. One is the utilitarian standpoint that gives much importance on Swabhava, and the other is the deontological standpoint that gives emphasis upon duty in the very rigorous way. Bhagavad Gita, that is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, has synthesized these two, that Swabhava and Swadharma, these two should go hand in hand. A mother is doing his duty, she is parenting her children very nicely, perfectly, but she not only does something, she feels. She has a certain feelings for her, and that the crisis, the human crisis is now in family and in society. We are all engaged in searching the reasons, not feelings. Why did you show me so? Why? We are asking the question, why? Why did he tell me so? Why did he do that? We always search for the reason behind actions or facts. Mere search of reason is not enough. We should have feelings, and in feelings there is compromise, there is sacrifice, there is adjustment, there is tolerance, there is silence, there is love, there is kindness, compassion. Such things are also necessary. They are just like a programming computer. Tendency, if we shall tendency of a machine, and that the computer works as it has been programmed. The computer does not, even a robot does not act accidentally. It acts as it is programmed. Similarly, if a man is acting according to the prescribed laws, duties, then that's just like a programming instrument. And in the beginning, I had asked who is the agent. Now, if we shall take utilitarian standpoint, that man is giving focus on his Swabhava, then it is that Swabhava is doing everything like a machine. And if we shall take the issue from the deontological standpoint, that duty is everything, this is also not the agent, it is also another way of doing something, or taking something into account, that it is a concern for duty. So in the Bhagavad Gita, these two are discussed very beautifully. Here Lord Krishna is asking to Arjuna that why should not you fight? You just tell me. Okay, you will not fight, but why do you feel reluctant for fighting? Arjuna said that they are my relatives, therefore I can't fight. Now, okay. If you will not fight now, will you not fight forever? This is a very important question. Suppose you deny to fight now, then are you sure that you will not fight? You will not fight at any time to come in future? You must fight, because your Swabhava is that you cannot tolerate adharma. You have been disposed in that way. So this is your whimsical decision. This is your emotion. This is not your permanent Swabhava. Your Swabhava is to fight. Because of some disturbances, because of some confusions in your mind, you just feel reluctant for fighting. But one day, even if you will go to Himalayas and even if you will become a saint, there also, if you will find any adharma and you will fight, and they will be not your relatives. If you will not fight with your relatives, that means if they were not your relatives, you must have you must have gone against them. You must have been ready to fight. So this is all your sudden emotion. This is not what is your Swabhava. This is not your Swabhava. Your Swabhava as a Kshatriya, as you are a prince, as you are a trainer, as you are the best student of your teacher, you are prone to fight. Therefore, you do your Swadharma. Here one question may come, is it advisable to say that if my Swabhava is bad, if my Swabhava is to take cigarettes, if my Swabhava is to kill human beings, if I am a murderer, if I am a bad person, then that is my Swabhava. Then should I act accordingly? This question will come. But in Bhagavad Gita, Swabhava is taken in very positive sense. Because Swabhava, when we take Swabhava and Swadharma together, here we think of the positive Swabhava, the Swabhava that leads to perfection only. So, if you are, suppose the Swabhava for Duryodhana, here Duryodhana is not taught Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is taught Bhagavad Gita because Arjuna has that Swabhava to understand this. So when it is taught to Arjuna, here we are discussing about the Swabhava, good Swabhava, for which Arjuna can understand and which Arjuna can follow. So here we do not encourage that if you have any Swabhava, then you should follow this. No, if you have good Swabhava, you have good quality, then better you act accordingly. You don't borrow the Swabhava from your teachers, from your brothers, from anybody else, paradharma, bhayabhava. Because if at all you will follow that, you can't go long way. One day or other you will feel frustrated, and that will not be conducive to your perfect action. You will stumble on the way. You can't go ahead. But so far as you stick to your Swabhava and you do your Swadharma, then by following that process, there is a possibility of transcending your Swabhava. Swabhava can be transformed. If you scale a particular perfection of your Swabhava, that can be transformed. And that transformation is possible if you respect your Swabhava, whatever standard it may be. You respect your Swabhava, you act accordingly, and you will experience that you are transforming day by day by following your own Swabhava. Therefore, in the foreign countries, they never go with certificates. Now the current education policies mean that now the government is giving focus to the vocations. That means what is the ability of a child, ability of a student in which he is expert. If he is interested in engineering or if he is interested in mechanics, or any field the person is interested, the child is interested, then he should be motivated, he should be educated in that direction. Today, nowadays, Indian government implemented that, but in foreign countries, it is a very old affair. They don't go through the certificates. They go through the swabhava of the young children, because that swabhava, the person who is inclined for something can do better in that field. Therefore, so the Swabhava and Swadharma are synthesized in Bhagavad Gita. If we shall take only Swabhava, ignoring Swadharma, it is utilitarian standpoint. Even if it is meant for the greatest pleasure of the greatest number, that will not work. If we shall ignore Swabhava and take only Swadharma, that is also one-sided. So in the Bhagavad Gita, these two are given importance, and in our practical life also we experience that our Swadharma should be backed by our Swabhava. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Yes, yes, thank you very much once again for your yet another nice lecture. I don't see any question in the chat box, but we have with us Professor Prafulla Mahapatra sir. I request him to make his observations and comments so that we can learn from him. Over to Professor Mahapatra sir.
I have been
Namaskar,
listening
sir.
to. Namaskar. Can you hear me all?
Yes, sir, able to hear you.
Okay. I have been listening to the lecture on Swabhava by Professor Das. You see, I want to make a few observations. You see, Bhagavad Gita had taught us about two types of dharmas. By dharma here, we all should agree, we are not concerned with any kind of religion or righteousness. By dharma means moral duty. So two types of dharmas in that sense have been envisaged by the Bhagavad Gita. One is Swadharma and the other is Samanya Dharma or Sadharana Dharma. Now, Sadharana Dharma is a general duty which is to be performed by anybody simply by virtue of the fact that he is a human being. So you can call it Manava Dharma, things like that. About Swadharma, the Gita had very specific theory. Swadharma means it is a specific duty, duty of people belonging to a particular class. Remember, class, not caste. Now, this was done. This kind of concept of Swadharma was envisaged by Lord Krishna on the basis of the Swabhava. That is why in the Gita, a very important thing has been said, that Swadharma is Swabhavaja, born out of nature. Pramod said that it has been It is because of inclination, dispositions, individual dispositions, quite rightly. But this is, I would like to say that the purpose of the Gita was to say that a Swadharma is determined by one's natural inclination or natural disposition. That is how that can be understood. Gita or Lord Krishna has clearly said that it is on the basis of guna and karma. So Swadharma of a Kshatriya is to rule the world, rule the country and defend the country from adversaries. Swadharma of a Brahmin is to teach and preach. Swadharma of a Vaishya is to carry on trade and commerce and things like that. And the Swadharma of a Sudra is or was supposed to be engaged in the type of activity that will help all these three categories of people. So Swadharma is Swabhava in that sense. It was unfortunate that later on this natural guna and karma was forgotten and sort of inheritance or born the birth was taken to be the determinant factor that has done a great havoc or the greatest havoc to the very well intended idea of Swadharma. So Swadharma is Swabhava in that sense. As I say that, it is a kind of see, we have also some distorted interpretation of Swabhava. Like some people have said, it has been said that Sarpakule Jatakolu Mate Swabhava Chharibi Kemal. So Pramod was talking about that. Swabhava has to be respected, which means Swabhava cannot be given up. But Swabhava can be given up. Or in course of time, one Swabhava can be modified, can be changed, but generally that is not done. So that is what is meant by Swadharma being Swabhava. Now anything, but then you see, there has been a very kind of absolutistic approach to all sorts of theories. So that, what is meant by saying that Swadharma is Swabhava is that it is generally so. But if you take it as a rigid classification, a priori division between the qualities of a person, Kshatriya, and the quality of a Sudra, that will not do, because this a priori categorization of Swadharma, Paradharma has done a great injustice to our cultural heritage, because from rightly mentioned the Swadharma Nidhananshaya Paradharma Bhayabha. This has been said. I cannot agree with that because that is based on a very absolutistic insistence on the division between Swadharma and Paradharma. Anybody who is capable of doing something can do that. So that is why when Shambhuka was killed by Rama. Why? Everybody knows. He was doing something that is meditation, which is not his Swadharma, because he was born a Sudra. Now that kind of thing got into the very bad idea, got into our cultural understanding of Swabhava. Swabhava means that which is to be displayed or determined by Guna and Karma. So if anybody is born, doesn't matter, someone is born out of Sudra parentage, he can uh, meditate and do things which are righteous, and that is why uh, because this because of this absolutistic distinction, a priori distinction between Swadharma and Paradharma, many things were many kind of injustices were done, like Ekalavya being denied um, the right to learn archery, the art of archery from Drona, like Karna being um, discriminated um, because he was wronged actually, because it was not publicly known that Karna was a Kshatriya, because he was a Kshatriya. Yudhishthira was a Kshatriya, Bhima was a Kshatriya, Arjuna, all the five Pandavas were Kshatriyas, and in very that sense, Karna was also a Kshatriya because he was a son of Kunti and born in the same way or similar way. So you see, this division between natural necessitation should not be taken as absolute. But generally, Swadharma is Swabhavaja. Swadharma is to be determined on the basis of one's natural inclination or dispositions. So that has to be understood. And to extend this idea of all moral theories, that they should not be taken in the absolute sense. That is the best thing that Gita has taught us. Gita made a distinction between Dharma and Sadharana Dharma, but when it was the Mahabharata war became inevitable, he told Arjuna to fight, because fight or do his Swadharma as a Kshatriya. Now Arjuna was at a fix, and he said, yes, I can fight because I am a Kshatriya, but I am a human being. My general dharma is not to kill people, and fighting will inevitably mean that I will be killing people. So what should I do? Arjuna went on saying, Krishna went on saying, you do your sadhana. To the point that someone can think that Gita's theory of dharma became rise on the theory of Swadharma. No, that is not the thing. But implicitly Arjuna was suggesting that even if both the dharmas, both the duties are categorical imperative, still at one particular situation, the situation so demands one duty, even if it is general duty, it may remain suspended, and because the other duty, the Swadharma of a Kshatriya, requires or demands precedence. That is the way, that is the implicit teaching of the Gita. Gita was a practical philosophy. So that has to be understood very clearly. And I think Pramod's, as I was listening to Pramod's lecture, he had been trying to mention these things, situational factors and all those things, which cannot be ignored. That is the greatest teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I like that lecture, and this is what I would like to observe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you very much, sir, for your observation and the comments. You have very nicely said that Swadharma is to be said by one's own Swabhava, one's own inherent nature. And there should be no distinction on the basis of, say, caste. Rather, the class basis should be taken, not the caste basis should be taken. It is the class. What is the nature? What is the inherent nature? What is the swabhava of a person? and that should determine his Swadharma. So very nicely said, sir, and thank you very much, sir, for your observation.
Hello,
You see any question in the chat box? Huh.
hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just speak few words. Thank you, sir, for sharing observation. That was very wonderful. One thing I just want to say, in the course of my talk, I am giving emphasis on two things. One thing is that what is our real situation? The moment we are doing something, what we should do, that is something else. But what we are doing, if we shall observe that, if we shall even in our practical life, what we do in a particular situation, we follow our Swabhava. Number one. Number two, I told that Swabhava can be transformed. Swabhava can be transformed. Our Swabhava is not final. The Swabhava, the quality of a Swabhava is different from person to person, and that can be transformed. But the possibility of transformation can be thought of if we shall at present start our response to our Swabhava, respect our Swabhava, and do our Swadharma. Because overnight, we cannot change our Swabhava. Suppose we do not have, I don't understand the others' inclinations, others' interest, others' educations, others' Swabhava, but I blindly follow because my father is saying, or my teacher is saying, or the scripture is saying, or one religion is saying so, then I shall stumble on the way. So what is, oh Arjuna, what is your real Swabhava? Your real Swabhava is to fight. Your real Swabhava is to go against adharma. But humanistically, emotionally, being confused, rationally confused, having two regions in one place. You should apply one region at one place, but you are applying double regions at one place to fight or not to fight. Therefore, you are confused. So, at least you should start with your Swabhava and you follow your Swadharma. By the way, you will be able to transform your Swabhava, because we are always marching from imperfection to perfection, imperfection to perfection. In education also, we pass matric, then +2, +3. This way we march ahead. Overnight we cannot do that. Number one. Number two, the classification of the Brahmin, Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriya, I did not cover that because it was short of time. Exactly the same thing. There is no caste at all. They are divided according to guna and karma, and these guna and karma are Swabhava. So according to one's Swabhava, one is Brahmin. According to others' Swabhava, the other is Vaishya, and other is Kshatriya, and the other is Shudra. Number one. Number two. Number three is, even the same person has four Swabhavas. That means in one situation I behave like a Brahmin. The moment I am now speaking, I am now I am behaving like a Brahmin. But suppose some criminals will enter into my house, I shall behave like a Kshatriya. Suppose when I am dealing with my financial account, there I am a Vaishya. Similar, when I am giving service to society, there I am a Shudra. So these four attitudes and abilities are also with all of us. and collectively saying, when these attitudes are very much prone to some people, they are called Brahmin or Vaishya, Sudra, Kshatriya. They are, these four are not divided according to their birth. They are, that is a very misconception. And we people stick that I am a born Brahmin. No. If you are a Brahmin but you behave like a Chandal, then you are a Chandal. And if a Chandala behaves like a Brahmin, he is a Brahmin. So that means you are a Brahmin according to your Swabhava. If your Swabhava is like a Brahmin, then you are a Swabhava. That is Guna and Karma. But I did not mention that because it was short of time. Thank you. But it was very wonderful listening to sir. Very nice. Thank you. I am obliged to him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pramod sir, for your later editions. Well, the first edition that you made comes in parity with the question asked by Sramani Mishra when you spoke that the Swabhava can be changed, but it cannot be changed overnight. It takes a period of time to change one's Swabhava. Suppose somebody identifies his Swabhava to be bad, or say he wants to modify himself, his Swabhava, and focuses on the positive aspects of things around, and then applies, then tries to discover his Swadharma and apply in situations, say contextually. That is how the transition should take place. What is your take on this? Well, you have said to this, so.
Speaking very honestly, I could not understand the question. Please make me understand the question first.
Yes. Actually, she says that suppose somebody identifies his Swabhava to be bad. Okay. Now, having identified to be Swabhava to be bad, now suppose there is a tendency to move towards the positive thoughts, to take something positive or do something positive in life. So there is an inclination towards moving towards the positive side of life. So as you said, that Swabhava can be changed, but it cannot be changed overnight. Okay. So there is a transition from a bad Swabhava to a good Swabhava. Once say there is a Swabhava, a good Swabhava determined by you. Now, she says, is then the route, should then the route be paved for Swadharma? Then we have to define our Swadharma. Is it so? Is it so that after defining your Swadharma to be a right one, should we then pave a path for your Swadharma and then apply your Swadharma not in a fixed sense, not in a say in a definite sense, but in a contextual sense? As you said, that Swadharma is a contextual necessity, not a fixed necessity. It's not a necessity in a fixed sense, rather it should be taken in a contextual sense. How do you see this? How do you see this entire transition? How important I feel?
Okay. First of all, intellectually, we should understand that we are naturally moral. We are naturally good. If we shall speak of the Swabhava of all human beings in common, then we shall say that we all human beings are naturally good. We are always moving towards that perfection. This is our natural inclination, but due to our attachments with this empirical world, rightly or wrongly, or due to our aversions, dislikeness, we are detached from and we dislike many things due to such disturbances and due to so many circumstantial problems also, our Swabhava has been disturbed. And there is a transition that we are always marching towards from imperfection to perfection, and it cannot be the highest perfect stage cannot be attained overnight, but it will be attained gradually. But the point is, But the family, the society, they will not wait for our transformation. They need our immediate response. If you have become a mother, then your children will not wait for your transformation. Your husband will not wait for your transformation. Suppose you will take 10 years to be transformed, then they will not wait for that. So, existentially, you are your Swabhava. Existentially, you have your Swadharma in your family, in your society. Practically, existentially, instantly, you have to do your Swadharma and you have to rectify your Swabhav. You have to, first you have to understand your Swabhava, your natural inclinations to which you are being inclined. You have to observe that, you have to understand that, whether it is good or bad. Then not only that, you will have to take notice of the inclinations of your husband, of your children, of your friends, and you should behave accordingly. Otherwise, you are not a man of practice. We have to do that. Yes, I am not perfect, I am imperfect, but I have to manage with that imperfection so that I can be perfect. Many people commit suicide. Why? Because they find some imperfections in their life, some failures in their life, and they don't wait for tomorrow. Therefore, they commit suicide. They should think that this is my Khanda Jivana. Khanda Jivana means this is a part life. This is today's life. But life is a long series. I shall live other 10, another 20 years. So gradually this situation will be changed. Situation will also be changed. Not only my Swabhava, the outer situation will be changed. The Swabhava of my husband will be changed. The Swabhava of my children will be changed. So we should be hopeful for that. Therefore, many people commit suicide and they conclude that my life has become meaningless because of such and such failures. We have to admit our limitations, we have to admit our imperfections, and we have to be very much hopeful that one day I shall scale to that perfection. So Swabhava can be transformed, and I am the first person to give that effort to change myself. Nobody will come forward to change myself. So the best Swadharma is to change yourself. That is also Swadharma. Your Swadharma is also to change your Swabhava. That is also one type of Swadharma. That I shall educate myself. I shall transform myself. I shall rethink, review. I shall change my ideas. I shall cope with the society, cope in my family. I have to live through the adverse situations. Best example is now the corona pandemic. It was not expected, it was not predicted, suddenly it came. But if it came and if it is a fact, we have to accept this fact and we have to go through it. It is not that the overnight corona will go. If overnight corona pandemic will not end, similarly overnight my Swabhava will not be transformed. But the society, the family, the government, nobody will wait for your transformation. We have to go through. That is also existentialism. We have to exist in this practical life as it is. And through that, we have to go towards perfection. I think so. Perhaps I answered her.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Nicely said. So even changing, say, an attitude to change the Swabhava is also Swadharma. A nice take from your response. Very nicely said. Now I see another question from Manas Das. He says, can we conclude that Swabhava depends on Swadharma? From situation to and we have to face, we have to become positive. Hey, Manas Das, if he's there, can you please talk directly to the speaker, because your question is not that clear. But one thing I could get from this, if Manas Das is there, can you?
My battery is running out. I am leaving. Thank you.
Manas Das, if you want to ask directly, please. No, he's not. Well, what I could get from his question is, uh, when I conclude that Swabhava depends on Swadharma. Actually, the question is not that clear. The speaker can also see from the chat box. The question is not that clear. Can we conclude that Swabhava depends on Swadharma from situation, and as per guiding principles, we have to become positive to solve. Now, I'm not getting the question. Well, if the speaker can see the question, he can take from the chat box. Or Manas Das, you are requested to unmute yourself and ask the question directly. But one thing that I get from Manas Das question is, can we take can we conclude whether Swabhava depends on Swadharma? Well, the question is not clear. Well, we can skip it out. Or Manas Das is requested to unmute himself and ask the question. Okay. Well, I don't see any other question in the chat box. Well, if somebody wants to ask question directly, including Manas Das, they can.
Okay, sir. Am I audible?
You're audible. You're audible. You're audible.
There are two things, Swabhava and Swadharma. When we are discussing about Swabhava, that is our precondition. Swabhava means what I am today. What I am today. I am a product. I am a product of my past. So what I am today, that means I am with my Swabhava. I am with my education. I am with my mental conviction. I am with my philosophy. I am with my likeness, dislikeness. That is my Swabhava. But Swadharma is contextual. Swadharma means that comes contextually. I told that sometimes I shall behave like a Brahmin, sometimes I shall behave like a Kshatriya, sometimes I shall behave like a Sudra, sometimes I shall behave like a Vaisya. If all the time I shall behave like a Brahmin, I shall not take care of my deposits, I shall not take care of my financial stability, or I shall be very much insensitive to my service. Then that will not work. Complete personality is he who lives contextually. So Swadharma comes in a context. So that is instantial. That comes instantly. So how can I respond to that? How can I respond to my Swadharma? I shall automatically respond to that according to my Swabhava. This is the existential standpoint. I don't say that it is good or bad. It is what happens to us. But here we can say, yes, we can better respond our Swadharma if we can make our Swabhava better. Suppose the situation is same for 5 people. And 5 people are endowed with 5 types of Swabhava. So their responses will be different. So that man will be rewarded whose response is better. So the response of Arjuna in the battlefield was not the response of Duryodhana. That was not the response of Lord Krishna. Their responses were different because their Swabhavas were different. But the situation was the same. That is the battlefield. Everybody is ready to fight. So in the given situation, when the situation is same, many people may react differently because they have different types of inclinations. So Swabhava, according to your Swabhava, you react and respond to your Swadharma. This is what I mean to say.
Okay, thank you. So even Manas Das, I don't know whether he means the same or something different. I don't know, but one thing we can learn from your response is that Swabhava is something that is predetermined. Okay, but as far as Swadharma is concerned, it comes from the context. So you know the dharma, but you should know the technique of applying the dharma. So Swadharma is more or less contextual. So that's how we have to treat these two issues. So Swabhava is predetermined, but Swadharma is more often context. So, well, I don't see any other question in the chat box. But if anybody wants to make any comment or say something or make a suggestion, they are invited. They are welcome. I'll wait for half a minute. If not, then I will just summarize the talk of Professor Das. Wait for half a minute. Well, the response I see in Manas Das, he says thanks. That means he's happy with the response. So he means what you have said. So thank you, Professor Das. Now, well, I don't see anybody unmuting. So if I look into the entire structure of the lecture of Professor Pramod Kumar Das, I see that though he has taken the title for today's lecture as Swabhava and Swadharma together, but he tried to take these two issues differently, and toward the end, he tried to bring them together. Well, while defining Swabhava, Professor Das has tried to say it as say that Swabhava means one's tendency or one's feelings or one's inclinations. But the question arises, who is that one? Who is that agent? Now, he says that one or that agent is not your senses, it is not your body, it is not your brain, it is not your mind. Who is that? So he leaves a gap, a space for all of us to ponder over that issue. But anyway, he comes with a passage wherein it says that this agent is saved by his Swabhava. Well, he raises a question, who is that agent who has a certain tendency or a certain inclination or a disposition? He refutes that agent is not the senses, not the body, not the mind, not the brain, but somehow he tries to say that the agent is saved by his own Swabhava. What is that Swabhava? He says Swabhava is something that defines one's personality. It is something that is predetermined. Even during the responses, he said this. It is something that is predetermined. Now, one Swabhava is original to himself. One may copy somebody's Swabhava for a time being, but he has to copy with a conscious mind, because there is artificiality involved in it. Till the time you are conscious that you are making an artificial action, you are copying somebody, you will be going on copying somebody's action as if pretending as if it is your action. But the moment you become unconscious that you are taking some artificial element of somebody else's Swabhava, you return back to your own Swabhava. If a crow paints itself white, for some time it may appear white, but soon the color gets faded up and the crow will appear as crow. So that is what the originality of Swabhava is. Even though you try to hide your Swabhava, it somehow becomes explicit, knowingly or unknowingly. So this is something that is about Swabhava, which cannot, well, during your response you said, well, one may be having a bad Swabhava, but over a period of time there may be efforts to refine one's Swabhava, to make a transition from some sort of imperfection in Swabhava to a sort of perfection in Swabhava. But anyhow, one Swabhava is his own Swabhava. There is originality involved in it. There can be no artificiality in Swabhava. Now, while referring to Swadharma, you talked of various definitions of Swadharma. You talked Swadharma as moral duty or a sense of righteousness. But again, you talk of Swadharma should not be something that is fixed and final, because something that is fixed and final will lead to the violation of some other dharma. A dharma that is fixed and final leads to the violation of some other dharma. That's why you have very nicely pointed out that one's swadharma should be based on the contextual necessity. And during your answer to one of the questions, you said swadharma must come from the context. It should not be fixed in the mind. But as far as Swabhava is concerned, it is something which is predetermined, it is something which is fixed. Okay, so Swabhava is something that is fixed, but Swadharma, it is something that is contextual. Now, while making a reference to, while talking of Swabhava, well, you made you said, you made a reference to Vivekananda. That reminds me of Vivekananda's, not the original expression, but his idea that one's beliefs, a person's beliefs based on his Swabhava become his thoughts, and it is these thoughts that get transformed into his actions, and these actions become his habits, and these habits define his character, and character defines his destiny. So this is the Swabhava of a human being, that is based on one's own inherent nature. But as far as Swadharma is concerned, that should be based on the context, and it should not be fixed. Now, towards the later part of your lecture, you try to bring Swabhava and Swadharma together, and you have landed up in three positions. The first position is a utilitarian standpoint, wherein you said that that there is an emphasis on Swabhava. You emphasize on your own nature, but you don't emphasize on your dharma. What is your dharma? You just think of your own nature and carry on your actions accordingly without thinking of your own swadharma. So you can say this is against the very ideology of Bhagavad Gita. Well, Bhagavad Gita, you say towards the end, emphasizes on both Swabhava and Swadharma, but the utilitarians emphasize on Swabhava, totally sacrificing Swadharma. So this is not acceptable from the standpoint of Bhagavad Gita. Now, coming to the second point, you talked about rigorism, wherein there is an emphasis on duty, on Swadharma, but there is a sacrifice of emotion, the Swabhava. So this is also not recommended by Bhagavad Gita, because there is more of emphasis on duty. You say more of emphasis on duty will make a man turn into a machine, because there is no emotion involved. So life would be boring therein. So that's how rigorism fails, you say. But a balanced position you find in Bhagavad Gita, where Swabhava goes on hand in hand with Swadharma. You carry your Swadharma, at the same time you have a Swabhava, a feeling of emotion, a feeling of charity, compassion, love, and all that. So even in the battlefield, towards the end, you said this position, the Bhagavad Gita, the combination of Swabhava and Swadharma is justified in the battlefield also, when Arjuna was confused whether to fight or not to fight. You very nicely said that the Swabhava of Arjuna is to fight, because he is a Kshatriya, and his Swabhava is to fight. And if he is not fighting, very nicely you have justified why it is his Swabhava to fight. Because if you don't fight then in the battlefield, then you should guarantee that you should not find any time. That means you have to sacrifice your Swabhava, but you cannot sacrifice your Swabhava, because you are a Kshatriya and it is your Swabhava to fight. Okay, now why should we fight? Because it is your Swadharma, to uphold dharma. If you don't fight, then adharma will prevail, and dharma will take a back seat. So it is the duty, it is the prime duty to fight, and that duty is backed by your Swadharma of being a Kshatriya. So that's how in Bhagavad Gita we find a balanced position wherein Swabhava goes on hand in hand with Swadharma. So very nice lecture, sir. So though you have taken Swabhava and Swadharma in a peace field, and you try to make a happy blend of reconciliation of Swabhava and Swadharma by taking the instance of Arjuna's Swabhava to fight as a Kshatriya and Swadharma to uphold Dharma. So thank you very much for your very nice lecture. So I think all the participants might have been very much benefited by this. Today I see a new participant, Michael Skull. Well, I request him to have a word with him because he's a new participant. I have never seen in the list. I find him. May I have a short introduction. We are happy to see you in this webinar. If you would like to share a few words with us, we would be very happy. If you so like, otherwise it's all right. Otherwise it's all right. Anyway, welcome Michael to this webinar. Tomorrow too we have a webinar. Okay, you are welcome, and I think the participants might have been very much benefited by this lecture. So I thank the speaker for being so elaborate on this topic and for having a good understanding of the topic and also injecting this topic into our minds in a spoon feeding methodology. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you very much, sir. So now over to Swarnalata Tripathi madam to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Namaskar to all. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I thank all the participants for their benign presence in this session. Wisdom Intellectual Forum is grateful to Professor Pramod Kumar Mahapatra sir for his presence in this session. I am grateful to Pramod sir for focusing on both the distinction between Swabhava and Swadharma and also their synthesis. I thank Dr. Rao sir for giving a beautiful concluding remark at the end of the session. He makes the talk more lucid and clear in his concluding remarks. I thank you all. We shall meet again next Saturday with a new topic. Dhanyavad. Pranam.
Thank you, madam. I also thank you for organizing this webinar. So I request all the participants to join us coming Saturday for the 8th lecture in the Bhagavad Gita series. I also request the participants to join us from the platform of Philosophy Family for the webinar on mysticism and feminism tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. or all are welcome. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Now the meeting is closed.